And we lead right into our 99 questions about the college football season series. It's getting close. It is getting close.
Can you feel it?
I can. Practices are starting. All three teams in the triangle, Duke, UNC, NC State, as of today, are practicing football.
1 month away from Duke's season opener against Elon at home at Wallace Wade.
There you go. Who's going to be the quarterback for Duke?
It's a great question.
That's our question in our 99 questions about the college football season series. Who is going to be the quarterback for the Duke Blue Devils? The two in the running are Grayson Loftis, who many of you will remember from last year, stepped in, performed admirably down the stretch after a couple of injuries ahead of him. He was a freshman, thrust into the limelight, and made some plays. Right, that Duke Carolina overtime situation, he kind of stared down Drake May on the other side in the shootout and came pretty darn close to pulling it off. The other, Maalik Murphy, big-time transfer, big-time recruit from Texas. Probably would have been in a quarterback competition of his own at Texas with Arch Manning if Quinn Ewers decided to go pro. Instead, Quinn Ewers, the returning starter, decides to go back to Texas. Maalik Murphy thinks he needs a little bit of a fresh start, opportunity to compete, transfers to Duke. The head coach of the Duke Blue Devils, Manny Diaz, spoke with us on this program at ACC Kickoff last week. This is what he had to say on deciding the starting quarterback.
Bringing Maalik in was important of not just stemming the tide, but turning around momentum. Maalik was so crucial. Forget the people on the outside, inside our locker room, to realize, like, wait a minute, we don't have to take a step backwards this year.
And it was very quick after your regime took over.
It was actually great. He committed on the day that Duke was winning their bowl game. The great unintended consequence is that what you would want as a coach is that competition makes everybody better. And Grayson Loftis played his tail off during spring ball, and our locker room truly believes that we have two quarterbacks we can win with. And that's not the old, if you got two, you got none. No, we have two guys you can win with. Now the question going into training camp is, who can we beat everybody with?
Who can we beat everybody with? I thought Manny Diaz handled the situation very well. I thought he set it up very well. I agree with him that the Maalik Murphy commitment was pivotal in establishing the new coaching staff with Mike Elko out the door as a hey, everybody doesn't have to run away. Matter of fact, people are going to run towards our program. Maalik Murphy, I would be extremely surprised if he is not the starter.
Yeah. It's just nowadays in college football, and you could say the same thing with North Carolina, not to compare the two, but, I mean, they're both going through the same thing. Nowadays, you don't bring in these big-name transfers with the expectations of them to be the backup week one. Crazier things can happen, though.
Not only do I think Maalik Murphy is the starter, I think the continuing of the competition, I think that Grayson Loftis being in the competition is strategic. I don't know if it's actually in the coach's eyes, unless something, I mean, trust me, if Grayson Loftis comes out and he's playing like Joe Burrow, they're not going to put him on the bench just out of principle. But I think it's mostly a strategic move, and it's about keeping Grayson Loftis. Right? The gift for Duke is Grayson Loftis played well enough last year that if rubber meets the road, right, if there's an injury, if he's forced into action, you're very comfortable with him. He played very well in the ACC. The flip side of that is he played well enough last year that there would be a market if he wanted to enter the transfer portal.
Yeah.
There would be a ton of teams out there that would be interested in bringing him in and having a quarterback competition.
Or wait out another season for when it's his team. I mean, that seems a little unlikely nowadays in college football, but you never know.
So in order to get him to wait, in order to do what you just said, right, hang around, or even just to be available for one more year as a backup, which will give Manny Diaz and his staff a chance to go maybe recruit someone out of high school or find their guy. To keep that player, you have to keep him on the hook, right? You have to keep him tasting the bait. You have to keep him interested. And I'm not saying that Grayson Loftis insinuated anything about transferring. I'm saying if you're a coach, you can look at the state of college football right now and say if somebody played last year, real games, has enough tape that they can send it out to other teams and those other teams will be interested. If you have a player that played last year and they're going into training camp not even in a competition for the starting job, take the names off. Like, again, I'm not saying this is specific to Grayson Loftis. I'm saying generically in college sports, that player leaves a lot of the time. to keep that player, you need to make them think they have a chance.
And he now has enough experience just after his freshman season last year, where he started 5 games towards the end, where you don't want this to happen again if you're Duke, where you're seeing a rotation of quarterbacks getting injured. But he got thrown into a crazy situation when Leonard got injured, and then backup Henry Beelan, and handled it pretty much as well as he could.
So you want him around. I think many coaches will understand perhaps the only way to keep that player around in that situation is to drag out the quarterback competition as long as possible, even if in the back of your brain, it's Maalik's job, right? In the recruiting process, you may have even promised Maalik things, right? But you have to play this up going into camp until that point of no return, and then perhaps Loftis moves to the background.
I think also, too, just for Duke, with their schedule this year, those non-conference games against Elon, Northwestern, UConn, there's one more in there that I'm forgetting. I mean, those are the games where get Maalik Murphy out of there early in the third quarter. Let him play maybe two sets of downs or 2 drives, I should say, in those third quarters of those games. Get him out, because after their non-conference, I mean, they just jump right into the thick of it with their ACC schedule.
Middle Tennessee Middle Tennessee is the one you're forgetting. Maybe Elon. I don't want to disrespect Northwestern, and I know they dirtied UConn last year, but UConn is a program on the rise. I'm not sure you go into it expecting to play both quarterbacks for 4 games. Against Elon, an FCS opponent, you probably do. But the other 3, like if Maalik Murphy needs to play the whole game, you play Maalik Murphy the whole game. Right? He's also new. You're also implementing new coaches on both sides. Their offensive coordinator, Jonathan Brewer, is also very new. He's only had 1 year experience as an offensive coordinator. So there's a lot of new that I think they're going to want to break in that non-conference schedule, those first 4 games you mentioned, Elon, Northwestern, UConn, Middle Tennessee. And that includes, very obviously, doing whatever it takes to get your starting quarterback ready. And with the 99 questions about the college football season, question of the day being, who is going to be the Duke starting quarterback? Maalik Murphy. I don't know if he starts every game. Injuries happen, right? Coaches have to make decisions. But I think he's starting week 1.